Good morning to everyone out there. Today is, what day is today? Today's Thursday, I think. It's Thursday, July 24th, 2025. It is another edition of Joe's Book Review. I'm just going to dive right into this one. Today we have something called Just a Book in the Library from Dr. Donna Clovis, published by Balboa Press, which is a division of Hay House, a form of vanity press where you pay to have your books published. This book here actually is a work of fiction, as it says right there in the corner of the book. And what's this book about? Well, a defining quote early in this book talks about how the act of borrowing a book creates a quantum experience that changes space into time. You know how when you read a book, it might open up with like a quote of something? One of my favorite authors of all time, fantastic, goes by John Case. He wrote a book that was amazing called The Genesis Code. I learned about this my freshman year in college. And in fact, I had written this author one time before and was blessed with a response from him. His own name, not a pseudonym, on his own letterhead, and he actually even like had some heartfelt thoughts in the letter as well. But that first book that he wrote, The Genesis Code, the opening quote it says, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten, not made. And that's from the Nicene Creed, the Council of Chalcedon, around 451 CE. And if you're not familiar with that terminology of years, CE stands generically for Common Era. It kind of replaces AD Anno Domini, which is Latin for the year of our Lord, depicting the time from the birth of Jesus Christ till today. So instead of saying 2025 is 2025 AD, you say 2025 CE. And the quote is great in the front of this novel because it's a long-term known phrase. Everyone should I can't say everyone. Many people may recognize it. And the amazing work of fiction that is the Genesis Code is about cloning Jesus Christ from the DNA of history. A truly fascinating read, which I recommend everyone getting their hands on. Right now, I'm surprised I haven't done a book review on it yet, but I will definitely rectify that shortly. But why even bring that up? Well, the first 2 pages of Just a Book in the Library each have quotes on them. And the author's quoting herself both times. And I was like, who would do that? I actually, Googled the question I typed in. I got to put it right here full screen for you. What do you call a person who quotes themselves? And the AI overview quoted back saying, self-centered, egotistical, narcissistic, vainglorious, which dictionary defines as excessively proud of oneself or one's achievements, overly vain. Well, Just a Book in the Library will be the third fictitious novel by Dr. Donna Clovis that I have found in that throwaway book bin that people put in front of their houses, that like micro libraries. When they share the books they no longer want. And each of the ones I've picked up, like 8 of them or something like that, are all signed and they come with business cards for other works that she's published as well. And again, by published, I mean bought to be bound by a vanity press, just as you would go to like a Kinko's or a Staples or maybe even an Office Max. Who am I? I am a reader, middle-aged, white, heterosexual, middle-class male. Therefore, by some accounts, probably a racist from the patriarchy, because I must be, because I have no choice in the matter. I get my hands on a book, and I go through it, and I let you know what my thoughts are on such a work, but I always tell you, have your own thoughts. Pick it up on your own, especially things like this you might not come across too often. It might be up your alley. And these books by Dr. Donna Clovis, they're short. They're like 75 pages, incomplete pages, large font chapters. Essentially, it almost takes me longer to write my notes than it does to read the book. So I came across these, and they pretty much have a cover price of about $12.99, as well as each one I found is autographed by Dr. Donna herself. And all of these I picked up for free, and I probably overpaid for them. Now, what is it about? It begins innocently and nicely enough. It soliloquizes about the power of books. It even talks about the majesty of a library. Thoughts and words in which I myself echo heartfeltly. And then it quickly enough goes up its own ass, saying borrowing a book is a quantum experience and will assist you to survive the apocalypse of a democracy. Which I'm sure anyone who reads like Roger Hargreaves as a book, Mr. Happy, Little Miss Sunshine, can completely see the value that opinion brings to all books. And then after this genius is received by you, the reader, the next 5 or 6 chapters, albeit like 3 pages, goes on to illustrate the power of shared history. Repeated illustrations of ye old song, clap 3 times and wink, spin around 2 times, because an older woman in a prior volume of the fictitious book series has done this. The point being to remember history, to read, to remember, to keep alive yesterday through today, which is certainly true. Learning from the past, ensuring that what was done to you before does not recur. Guarding against trends toward repetition. Forewarned is forearmed, is what people have said in the past. And then as it moves on, now we're a little bit into it right now about this section here. It refers to locations within Princeton. A lot of her books are very Princeton-centric. Like this is happening on campus today here, she writes about. Can you imagine what Einstein did on this chalkboard right behind you? On this bench, I sit and watch the trees grow. In this pub, can you imagine the conversations that were had? And he even exemplifies one aspect too. The Tiger Tones. This is Princeton's a cappella group. They would, I think every year possibly, but they would perform The Little Mermaid. And they had to recently remove the song Kiss the Girl from the lineup. And why? Because the Tiger Tones during Kiss the Girl, or at the finale of Kiss the Girl, would select a girl from the audience and kiss her. As they say, kiss her without consent. Misogyny. Okay? And therefore, it makes people uncomfortable. You can't do that kind of thing. So to prevent this from ever happening in the future, what they do is they removed the song from the set list. It's for safety, for unbecoming reasons. But in my mind, I said, or just don't do that. You leave the song in. Just don't grab a girl from the audience and kiss her unless she's another actress that wants to. You don't sing one of the most, you don't leave out singing one of the most iconic songs in the whole story if you're doing a Disney version. But just, don't just leave it out. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. Put it this way. If you ever went to an Allman Brothers concert and for some reason they did not play Whipping Post, you would be ticked beyond belief. So that was the way to get past things at Princeton. Instead of just not doing the activity, take out the song and you take away the temptation to even do such a thing, which is ridiculousness. But apparently this happened though, and she's bringing it to light. Now, one thing that irks me about some of these books is there's a true lack of definition. Okay? For instance, like the quote I gave up above, and I'll say it again. I gotta scroll up to get it. The act of borrowing a book creates a quantum experience that changes space into time. Okay. But unfortunately, stop, end of sentence, nothing more. Lack of definition. Explain yourself. What do you mean by this? In a brilliant 18th chapter, one large tome, that's approximately 79 words, entitled Something Quantum, quote, our reality exists in a multiverse of time, as all possibilities determine a role in the present that changed from moment to moment. The data inside future light can be used to reconstruct the present into the immediate past within an instant, as enlightened eternity. Well, I know, as well I think if you've been watching the series that you should well know, I am not the smartest of men. But tell me exactly why this run-on sentence actually makes sense in its own merit. Because there's not another iota of data within this chapter to support that. That is an example of 45 words in a 79 word chapter that's just left there with nothing to say about it, except it may have the semblance of a subject and a verb and an object that technically makes this what can be defined as a crafted sentence. But it's alone in a void, in a black hole, if you will, all by itself. Which, by the way, if you read the book, black hole comes up very often. So that's kind of a pun on itself. Inside joke at this moment, though. Sorry. Moving onward. Racism. You can't have a few chapters written herein without being led into this concept. Quote, in the shadow of the stage, the deceptive power of racism rises. And apparently in this context, dancing up on a stage under a spotlight, that is racism in Princeton. It's translated to meaning dragging a plow across the dried bones of her ancestors, because racism is institutional and depended upon who was paying attention or not. Which, if you take a page from set theory, you take the sum of all the people who are paying attention to it, and take another sum of the people who are not paying attention to it, and if you add them together, you've got a universe of everyone. Therefore, racism is dependent upon everyone. Moving on. At about this point, I was able to plow through the last third of the novel. Nothing really connected from one chapter to another. It was random thoughts coalescing on subsequent pages. And some examples, journalism is the only truth. Gets into Trump, just saying Trump is forever lies. Talks about history being too important. But majors in history are on a sharp decline, and therefore ignorance will be our undoing. Somehow slavery becomes freedom. And I think it was like there was a stenciled slavery word and freedom was across it or something like that. Again, too dumb to understand what's going on. And of course, synchronicity, synchronicity, synchronicity happens way too often. Never defined truly except for being coincidences, but synchronicity. Essentially, there you have it. Go out and pick up your own copy today. Look for Just a Book in the Library by Dr. Donna Clovis. Me, I'm done with this one. Thank you so much for listening so long. It's been a short one today, only about 14 and a half minutes. I wish you the best. Stick around, more to come. Thank you. Bye-bye now.